How you doing? Chris at Dentless Touch. I want to welcome everybody to the PDR Workshop podcast. As always, we have Dave O joining us in.
What's up, guys?
Or joining in, I should say. This time around, guys, since it's the last podcast of the year, we're going to recap the decade. Not just the year, the decade. So a lot of changes have happened in the last 10 years, and we're just going to go over that.
Yeah, I think, I started in pretty much 2010, so this is going to be literally like my 10 years. I think it was like 09, 2010, whatever. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be a 10-year mark for me. So I know a lot has changed from even just me starting in this whole thing to now. So, and I'm sure for you who's been in a little bit longer have seen even more changes. But we're going to go just for the decade, kind of talk about what we've seen that's changed.
Some memorable tools and marketing strategies, network, just what we've seen that I think we would kind of reference back to and say, you know what, that was actually amazing, a great product or a new method of capturing leads or whatever it was. So we just want to recap that. All right, without further ado, let's talk about the tools. That's easy enough. Let's get in there and talk about the tools. Can you list a few tools, Dave, that you see came in obviously this decade and that you see that it will continue to help the PDR industry, for decades to come, I would think.
There's two, just as you asked this, because we didn't really kind of go over this before. So the two that just really come to mind right now from the beginning of when I started to now is, and I've mentioned this plenty of times before, but the Eliminate board has been, I think, one of the biggest game changers to the PDR industry. That whole lighting system is just so unique. It's the proper light, for what we do every day, and the easeability of, how you can use it with the interchangeable batteries. That was just huge. And I was coming from a plastic fade board. So just the outside, using the sun as your natural light, very hard to see inside if you were using it. But the Eliminate board for me was one of the biggest game changers. And I think next to that, I'm going to have to go with the Shane Jack's blending hammer. And I'm going to say that because PDR College was coming out right around that time. Shane came out with his hammer not too long after. And so just with their podcast that came out, gave me a bunch of tips and tricks. And then the hammer that came out with it. And then the blending techniques, that was huge for me because just that repair method alone for rails and stuff like that was able to speed me up and just make my repairs a lot cleaner for roof rails. So for me, those two were huge, just game changers to my PDR game, as a technician. And I know I've mentioned those tools before, but they're tried and true. For the last 10 years, I use them day in and day out. And
just the evolution of the both tools, right? If it's not Eliminate, you got Stucky, you got just so many other PR
They've
lights
pioneered,
right? Exactly.
For other companies and other tool manufacturers to kind of play off of them. But
and both of them did, right? So there's a blending hammer. You have I think it's Haynes, his blending hammer with the adjustable pivoting angles.
Hayes Freeman, with the ratchet or ratchet, something like that. Yeah,
I have no idea.
It's one of those.
Yeah, I just was using that on the Hail car. It's actually pretty good. With the built-in knockdown, it's pretty slick.
Yeah.
So, so as far as tools, I would say the Mobile Tech RX is a game changer. I remember writing. I still have my little invoice book, and it was funny before that was released, I went out and said I bought. I think it was about 50 invoice books. It would have lasted me about 2 years, at least 2 years. We were going through about an invoice book a month. Hopefully, try to propel that to more sales. But at that point, we were going about an invoice book a month. I think it was a pack of 100 or 50 or whatever it was. And anyway, and then I literally just switched to Mobile Tech RX. And I still have them sitting in there.
I did the same thing. It wasn't too long after Windy City Debt Repair was started, and I had gotten all the invoice books, the write-up sheets, everything that I needed to get, and Mobile Tech RX came out like that MTE, and I was just like, they were sitting in a box. It was completely a waste of money because I never used them. Mobile Tech RX took over that whole system,
which then created this like spiral of like a CRM, and then got me on I think I was on QuickBooks, but It was more of like, honestly, I think it was just the numbers per month just to see it. But now it's I can dial it into, the type of customer and just all kinds of different things. The second tool that comes to mind is really the stand liners. I think they've been, the technique, just like you say with the sling jacks, I think the technique has been, or the change of the decade, the 2010, we're going to talk about the networking and the ability to communicate, but, to put his technique in the forefront, something he's been doing for 50, 60 years, to now bring it to the States and show people, this different style. But what I noticed also is that he really made it known that the metal that the tool is made out of is important. And I don't think a lot of guys understand the stand liner. If you are not familiar with the stand liner tools, at least go by one of his highly recommended tools on his website, and you'll see the metal just reacts completely different to the panels. And it's funny because I try to find tools that kind of mimic that, and I can't.
Yeah.
So it was weird how, and even from what he's telling me, it's hard to find the similar metal that you can duplicate his tools with. So it almost
in the States, he said it's very almost proprietary to his area.
And I didn't think it would matter as much, right? It's just metal. Metal, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But his tools are probably one of the only tools that you can get a soft push but have no tape on the tool. It's very, very weird. And the tools are very hard. Yeah.
You mentioned networking, and I mean, even for me, Facebook was huge in the beginning of my career. I was able to ask other technicians that weren't directly next to me questions about repairs, questions about access, just tools, stuff like that. I was able to to connect with other PDR technicians, and that alone was a huge game changer. More forums started coming out, more different Facebook groups, and then just the different.
Facebook didn't even have groups,
Yeah, it wasn't there. So you were just adding them as a friend, and then try to message them and trying to get some information. But then the group started coming out. That evolved. So now there's hundreds of PDR different forums that you can be a part of that just allow for you to ask a question, gain some insight. If you are on the fence about something, it's a safe place to go. Ask your question, and you'll get multiple responses from different technicians, so you can gauge what you need to do and adjust accordingly.
Yeah. It's crazy. I was just thinking about back on the tools again. I was thinking about the hail rod. I remember the carbon fiber, when I'm talking about Carbon Tech, the carbon fiber hail rod. I mean, I have this aluminum thick A1, obviously the price, the price for A1s are very affordable. It's economical, but the versatility of the carbon rod it's amazing. They got some new attachments now that can go on it. So now you only really need that carbon rod instead of 3 or 4 different other tools. The Dentless started to become more prominent in people's toolboxes. So, I mean, I think to just sum it up is, I think this decade we've seen a lot of PDR guys. Just to summarize the tool side, we've seen a lot of PDR technicians develop their own tools, and not just develop them, but also bring them mainstream. And that to me has been very, very important. Just to see that we have another avenue for the creativity that we have, to maybe help us with some of the expenses of doing this work, but just seeing different people's method and techniques, and just I don't know, it's been amazing.
There's just a lot of ingenuity over the last 10
decade,
years.
it wasn't about that, at all. I mean, it doesn't. From what I've noticed, it doesn't seem like anybody's like a get rich quick scheme. It's more like, this is what I use. This is what I've had built, and I want to share it with you guys. I don't think anybody's getting rich off of tools, but the fact that they were willing to invest the time and the money to bring it to another technician, shows a lot about this industry, for sure.
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
Yeah, but back on the networking side of things, back onto the stand liners, the modern technology is allowing him to come across, to the States and actually put on these shows because of the groups and stuff and the organization that's been able to happen with.
You can coordinate events, actually get people to them, create shows and have, patrons attend, which wasn't, I think in the previous decade, that wasn't, really possible. It was all word of mouth. You had to call 20 guys to hopefully try to get them there. And that wasn't, the cell phone was just there. There's so many different things just within the last decade.
Yeah. Kudos to the guys that's been doing it, for a decade. You got PDR College and stuff like that. I think, again, they are probably pioneers that put on, they had an advanced seminar that kind of showed that, we can get together, share knowledge. And then now you got these spinoffs, kind of, with respect. You got these guys who are like, you know what, I got a ton of knowledge I want to share and this, that, and the third. And now you got these meetups going on. So it's just, it's nice, man. I think 2000...
I mean, it inspired us. We had a couple workshops over the past year and stuff like that. So,
definitely.
Over these 10 years, so much has changed within the PDR industry. And I think it's still going to be a long road ahead before it's at the forefront for just, insurance and stuff like that. But, I think another good hard push of 5-10 years of educating customers. I mean, we can really see some dramatic changes within payless debt repair.
And so, not to leave out MTE, but now we have 2 events every year now is what it looks like now. So that's amazing. It switched over. It looks like ownership maybe, and maybe has a bigger backing. And so it looks like MTE is coming in strong for next year and the years to come. So it just seems like the industry at a whole is at a good position. The economy seems to be pretty decent, and this kind of leads us into where we think the industry is right now and where we think it's going for the next decade. You want to start, Dave?
I'm just trying to think of kind of where do I think it's going to go. I think the ingenuity has kind of slowed down a little bit. I think with technicians, because a lot of our stuff, the tools that we do have now are, they're awesome. A lot what the guys have come up with over the last 10 years are going to last us for another 20. And so I think just ingenuity slowed down a little bit, but I think that just business knowledge with PDR is going to rise, or people are going to gain more knowledge on the business side and really start to hone
right?
it. It's definitely needed. It's nice to have one, be a solopreneur sometimes, but I think that guys are going to be teaming up a little bit more, really understanding that you can't do it all by yourself. There's going to be a lot more teamwork involved, stuff like that. Yeah. I think that's where PDR is going to be kind of going. I think it's going to be a lot less solopreneurs and more technicians trying to team up to capture markets. And that's just, that's just kind of my idea. Yeah. I don't know if that, what will happen. That's what's going to happen, but that's kind of what I'm just envisioning, and that's kind of what I'm hoping. Guys are just teaming up, trying to capture markets, take over, with their companies that they've built with blood, sweat, tears, and, and keep them going and servicing their communities for, the next 20.
Yeah. Because ultimately it's going to help the industry, right?
Correct.
The more, if you get together, the more resources you have so that you can inform the customer what we actually do.
Yeah.
And I still think only about maybe a good 5% of people around the area know what we do. And so ideally I'm not fighting over the same customers. What I'm trying to do, and here at Dentless Touch, is we're trying to capture the other 95% and try to bring them in the door.
Yeah. And
not try to fight over the 5% that know us. So, but yeah, I think the industry is going to be very strong in the next 10 years. And we have a lot of companies behind us, with the MTE, Mobile Tech RX, and just we have now a little bit more money. It seems like more resources in this industry.
I think repairs are going to be a little more challenging.
Yeah,
which is going to require more knowledge and more technique and stuff like that.
Which doesn't help the growth of a business because the skill level, the training time.
Yeah,
it helps the guys that already know. They can charge more, but again, without the information being known, we're at a disadvantage. So the one thing that the industry really needs to pay attention to, if you're a PDR guy, is just let it be known that what you can do. So if you can record yourself and post it on, if you're on that TikTok thing or whatever it is, just do it. The more people that know that we're around, the more people will start asking, and the less people that will go to body shops and dealerships to get PDR work done.
I agree.
So that's our recap for the decade. A little short and sweet. But I want to wish everybody a happy new year, a very successful 2020. I want to thank our sponsors, Mobile Tech RX, Dentcraft Tools, and Blem Tools, guys. They're the ones that make this show possible. And we see you guys 2020.
See ya.
Peace.